Shalom. The entire cognitive behavioral breakdown within the first two verses of Parshat Balak is so powerful, just as a meditation for oneself and our own development. Check it out. Balak, the son of Zippor, he saw what the Israelites did to the Amorites. What happened then? He became so terrified of the people, for they were numerous. So Moab became sick due to the Israelites. So let's break it down. First and foremost, cause and effect, Kabbalistically, is father and son. It's parent and child. The parent is the cause, and the child is the product, is the effect. So the cause is Zippor, Balak ben Zippor. Zippor, aside from literally translating to bird, is from the language of Tzafra in Aramaic. Tzafra is boker. Tzafra is the light of the day of the sun shining. So it hints at the desire to have revelation at all times, as opposed to being comfortable and okay with the hiddenness. Balak is an anagram for the letters kabel, which is to receive, hinting to the quality of receiving for receiving's sake, receiving for oneself alone, being the egoism, as Bala Sulam describes. So the product of only wanting the light of the morning, the light of the sun, full revelation at all times, is that I want to receive. I want to receive that revelation. I want to receive that light. I am dependent on things to shine in order for me to show up, be productive, and serve and devote myself to my loved ones, let alone the Creator. And so, based on the cognitive processes in Kabbalistic psychology, more so cognitive behavioral therapy in this parameter, there is a Keter, Chochmah, Bina, and a Da, the top four sphirot, if you want to get technical. Keter is the source of ourselves, the highest self. In this case, it has to do with our identity. Keter is our unconditional value, our pure goodness, our eternity, and our purpose being fulfilled in every moment, by definition. And every desire we have is really just coming to reveal that goodness that already is. That's Keter in a nutshell. And you could argue that the essence of everyone, the essence identity, can also be called Israel. Israel is the innermost point of the heart within all of humanity, not just the nation of Israel, but all peoples have this quality within them. Israel is Yashar and Kale, meaning straight to God, meaning aligned with thought, speech, and action to serve and support the Creator, to be in His way of thinking, His line of quality, meaning Afhurachum afatarachum, as the Talmud describes, just as He is compassionate and merciful, so too you must be. But Israel has the same numerical value as Or v'choshech, light and darkness, because Israel, as a quality, as a higher consciousness, is free. It's independent of needing the light, of needing revelation at all times. There's a waxing and there's a waning, and that's okay. As opposed to, I will only show up when things are good. I will only show up when things are abundant and things are filled with goodness. On the contrary, I will show up maybe even more. I'll put in more effort, more endurance, more strength and power when things are hidden and concealed. In fact, the concealment is often an even greater opportunity for revelation. Because when there is a concealment and we can still serve the Creator, we're actually expanding the territory of the Creator's goodness. Because the Creator's infinite light is all good. It's undifferentiated, it's one. Let's say back in the Ein Sof, and the infinite. And after the Ein Sof, as those who learned a little bit of Kabbalah, there was a tzimtzum, there was a restriction or contraction of the light. So you went from full undifferentiated not light, and now there's this seeming void, a halal panui. But the Creator's light is there too, because it is not a literal restriction. It is, so to speak, it is in order to explain the processes of creations, in order to give a joy or a satisfaction to the ear, so to speak. But it's not literal. And the fact that now there's this new thing called a void, called a vessel, whereas before that didn't exist. It existed in potential, but wasn't a reality yet. So technically, the Creator's jurisdiction, the Creator's rulership, his goodness is actually expanding. Because now the Creator's light is not only in the undifferentiated oneness and infinitude that Ein Sof represents, Creator's light and infinitude is also expanded into void. His light is also there. So it's actually an expansion of this territory of goodness, which is why Israel represents light and darkness, and that specifically in the darkness, I have an even greater expression of my capacity to be unconditionally loving and giving, that I can prove to the Creator that I don't need the light to show up for you, the same way that sometimes our relationships become difficult. Sometimes the kids are just intolerable. Sometimes we're frustrated with our spouse. Sometimes we're frustrated and can't tolerate ourselves. And yet we still show up. Hopefully the case, we still wake up in the morning. We still get out of bed, even though some days might be hard. And that is the power of Or v'choshech, light and darkness, that we are independent. We are free from the need for revelation at all times, although that is a natural product and desire that we have in our heart. We want the revelation. We want the light. It's only natural. But it doesn't mean we need it. And so Balak ben Sipor hints this whole dynamic that if our identity comes from pure light as opposed to respecting and appreciating, there's also times of concealment, then naturally we will only want to receive. We will only desire the validation. We will be in a need, in a lack, and a desire. Hence Balak being Kabbalah, receiving. So that's the Keter, that his source, the Shoresh, source is one of the names of Keter. And so that is akin to the parent, the cause to the effect. And so Balak ben Sipor. So Balak ben Sipor, he saw, seeing, the eyes, is connected to Chokhmah. Chokhmah, wisdom, in Kabbalistic cognitive behavioral therapy, is the seat of our beliefs, the lens through which we see the world, our perceptions, our thinking processes in general. And so he saw what Israel had done to the Amorites. Now, just because he saw it doesn't mean it's fact. Because he saw it doesn't mean it's absolute reality. But that's the challenge here, is that the chaotic, the tohu, the chaotic expression of Chokhmah is seeing things in a narrow way, as opposed to the expanded consciousness and appreciating there's probably more data here. And so he saw what Israel did to the Amorites. Okay, that's one piece of data. That doesn't mean that's what they will do to you. But that is his perception, that is his lens, and that's his belief, because he saw what they did to them. And he has an identity of wanting only revelation and receiving for himself. So he concludes and assumes, which is now Bina, the conclusion and assumption that comes from your belief and perception of Chokhmah, that the worst will happen to him and his nation as well. Hence, Moab became terrified of the people. He was stricken with fear, as opposed to perhaps being able to navigate accordingly. Not to say he was a great tzaddik, a great spiritual master, but believe in the Creator, pray and ask for the strength and assistance to fight this nation who wants to come and conquer the land. And so this Bina quality, this think good and it will be good, essentially is the quality of Bina, that it comes as a product of the lens. Chokhmah is the seed, the flash, the initial perception. Bina is the womb that takes that seed and develops it into a full conclusion. Bina is the analytical process, the reasoning, the assumptions that the soul draws from that original perception. So Balak's Chochmah showed him Israel's conquest, as Bina concluded, just to summarize. Therefore, we are next. Therefore, we will be destroyed. Therefore, the worst possible outcome is now inevitable. And that's the tohu. That's the corrupted, distorted Bina coming from a corrupted Chochmah, growing out of a corrupted identity of Keter. And the chain is consistent all the way down because, again, the root identity could not tolerate concealment. His lens read every event as a threat. And the reasoning of this faculty, this drawing out the conclusion of catastrophe, is coming from his narrow point of data. You're not stopped to consider that the creator might be writing a different story. You're not paused to ask whether his fear was data or interpretation. And he did not bring his Bina into the dialogue with anything higher than his own juxtaposition of Israelites and his nation, his own anxious projection of what will be of them. And his conclusion, I'm sure, is it's justifiable, right? It's logical to him, but it's actually a catastrophe wearing this costume of analysis that's based on a distorted identity, hinting to us just how important it is to work on our mindset, to work on our identity, to anchor into the truth of the soul. So last but not least, in the second verse, V'yakatz Moav b'pnei b'nei Yisrael. And Moab was disgusted by the children of Israel. Disgusted. So dot is knowledge, it's identification, it's embodiment. In contrast to chokhmah being, let's say, information, wisdom in of itself, dot is knowledge, which is inner, it's embodied because the knowledge is now wisdom that's become a part of you. That's the differentiator between dot and chokhmah, for example. And this is where the cognitive sequence finally translates to emotion, because dot is the bridge that bridges the cognitive faculties to the emotion, which is why dot is akin to the neck, often the case, on the tselem Elokim, the image of the creator that we are made in. We have the mental faculties, and then dot bridges into chesed, gevur, tiferet, love, awe, compassion, according. So he is distraught, he's repulsed, he's unable to hold a reality that's in front of him. And Rashi says that essentially he was disgusted with his life, meaning to say he wanted to actually end it because he was unable to identify with the reality in front of him. I like to teach based on something I've learned from one of my mentors. Sometimes we hear the quote, if you can't beat them, join them. It's wrong. You cannot beat them. Join them into you. You can't fight reality. The creator is always going to throw you down in order to build you back up again, because every dissension is in order for revelation and a greater ascension. He kicks us out of the palace, so to speak, just to prove to us we are not dependent of being inside the light of the Heichal HaMelech, the palace of the king. In fact, when he kicks us out of the palace, is expanding the palace, because we're never not in the palace. We never leave the palace. His light is also available and present even in the garden and not just the Eden, so to speak. When we come from this resilient place that my purpose is in every single moment, because that's where the creator has put me, then I'm able to integrate with reality, even if it's challenging, even if it's absolutely against my desire. Whatever is in front of me is something that I can navigate with and accept, surrender to, and see how this is coming to serve and support me, as difficult as it might be, as opposed to connecting, because that is a connector. Adam knew Eve, right? They're connecting. There's an intimacy of Chokhmah and Bina, of the male and the female, of the seed and the womb coming together. So this intimate connection with reality and acknowledging that everything within reality is the creator itself trying to express himself through reality. The opposite, the distortion of the dot, is absolute disconnect. not connecting to the party in front of you, not connecting to your loved one, not connecting to yourself, not connecting to the Creator. Hence, he wanted to, seemingly based on the Rashi, end his life. So based on the corrupted identity, there's a corrupted lens, coming to a corrupted conclusion, coming to a corrupted feeling, an emotion that was fear and the idea of ending everything, in Balak's case. So, of course, the contrast would be in the ideal. You're coming from essence identity. That yes, we have lacks. Yes, we have darkness. Yes, we misalign. Yes, we sin. But it doesn't take away from the golden fruit that is the soul. You can put dirt and slag upon the finest and purest gold that is the soul, but it doesn't take value away from what is actually inside. That pure, untouchable essence, the chelek Elokai Mimal, the literal piece of the Creator that you are. And so if you root yourself and do the work, one thought process at a time, one meditation at a time, one affirmation at a time, one prayer to the Creator at a time, to step into the essence identity, to learn a little bit more about what the essence really is and how it shows up in your life, the unconditional value, the pure goodness, the eternity, and your purpose being in every moment. That every desire you have at the deepest level is coming to reveal more purpose, more mission, more connection. Then you can have a lens and a perception of reality being intrinsically good and therefore filled with holiness and joy. And therefore you will think good, so you will conclude good. Think good and it will be good. You will conclude and assume the best in your life regardless of what happens. You'll be able to identify and integrate all that happens with it, not fight reality, but surrender and accept it. Now, there are times where we do want to battle and wrestle with the Creator. There are times where he wants us to really give him the debate, or give him the argument. That's the minority of our day in a very specific pocket of time. The majority of our day should be in the light, should be in the goodness, should be in the emunah and the bitachon, the faith and trust, the certainty, the belief consciousness. And if you'd like to do this work, I can personally guide you inside the Lion a Tree coaching community. The link is in the bio. I do my absolute best, and I'm very good at it, to respond to everyone's reflection questions that I prompt on a near daily basis. There are introductory Kabbalah courses based on the Baal Hasulam, Rav Ashlag. They have a very healthy, grounding level of learning so that you can slowly but surely build yourself up into the more technical works. There's guided meditations, all based on Kabbalah and Chassidut. And there is a myriad of integrative workbooks based on these cognitive behavioral principles. There are live interactive classes weekly. There are Q&A and breakthrough coaching sessions. Students and clients alike continue to reach out to me and tell me the transformative container that has been built here, and it would be an absolute disservice of me to not let you know what it is, because it's part of my mission and purpose in the world, and it'd be an honor to serve and support you if you wanted to, at the very least, try it out so that we can connect and integrate with reality accordingly. I'll see you inside of So. Wishing you abundant blessing, success, and goodness in all of your endeavors. And may you not need the light, but may you accept the concealment as a greater revelation of light and march forward with endurance, with joy, with clarity, and blessing in all of your endeavors.